Buju, Tanzi, Watie, Han, Etlanete. Welcome. This video series for teachers is presented by the Speech Language team at the Manitoba First Nations Education Resource Centre. In this video, we will learn about what phonological awareness is, why it's so important, and how we can help the students in your class build their phonological awareness skills. My name is Karen Batchelor, and I'm one of the SLPs at MFNERC. Phonological awareness has been presented upon a few times in the past, so I'd like to acknowledge SLPs Kelly Ring-Wicklow, Christine Crawford, Susan Jansen, and Megan McCauley, who have all contributed some slides. Some of the information presented here will be a review for you, while some of it may be new. So before we get started, there's often some confusion between phonics and phonological awareness, so I'll address them quickly. Phonics really emphasizes letters and the letter-to-sound correspondence. It focuses on the relationship between the letters of written language and the sounds of spoken language. It involves matching a sound to the letters that make that sound. An example is teaching that the letters C and H together make the sound ch. So that's phonics. Phonological awareness, on the other hand, emphasizes sounds and the sound-to-word correspondence. It involves the awareness of the sound structure of words. It involves the realization that words can be broken up into sounds, and that those sounds can be put together to make words. It also includes the ability to manipulate sounds. The focus is on the sounds that we hear, not the letters that the sounds represent. Both phonics and phonological awareness are important pieces of the puzzle. They're both needed for reading success. For the rest of this presentation, I'm going to just focus on phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is an auditory or listening skill. It allows you to tune into the sounds of language. An example is when a kid notices, hey, that word starts with the same sound as my name. It also allows you to recognize sequences in language. An example would be when kids pay attention to rhyming words and think rhyming words are really fun and silly. Lastly, it allows the manipulation of sounds and sequences in language. An example would be making a shortened nickname for a friend, so calling your friend Jessica Jess. The ability to notice, think about, and work with sounds in a word is really the basis of phonological awareness. More generally, phonological awareness helps with reading, vocabulary, spelling, and phonemic awareness. Phonological awareness is the biggest building block for reading success. This is why we work on it so much. There's often a big focus on phonics, identifying the letters and writing the names of letters. But if those earlier phonological awareness listening skills aren't there, reading will be very difficult. Having low phonological awareness skills creates an unfortunate cycle from a young age. If a student has low skills, they'll struggle with reading. They'll dislike reading because they're struggling with it, and then will want to read less and less. This lack of practice will therefore cause them to struggle even more. Phonological awareness skills lie on a continuum of complexity. At the least complex end are activities such as rhyming, and on the more complex end of the continuum are activities such as separating a word into its separate sounds. We're going to go through each of them and I'll provide some activity ideas that you can use in your classroom. An early skill is working with rhymes. So that includes the discrimination of rhymes as well as the production of rhymes. Second, we'll talk about working with syllables, segmenting words into syllables and blending syllables into words. Listening for sounds includes identifying the initial, final, and medial sound in a word. Last is working with sounds, segmenting words into sounds and blending sounds into words. These are not all of the phonological awareness skills that are out there. However, these ones are quite important and they are commonly taught, so that is why they've been chosen today. First up is rhyming. A lot of us recognize rhyming words when we hear them, but what does it mean if two words rhyme? Two words rhyme if the middle vowel sound and the final consonant sound, if there is one, are the same. Pretty much the end of the words or syllables sound the same. Here is a list of words that rhyme. Ring, sing, thing, fling, king. Here's another list of words that rhyme. Blue, two, shoe, glue, moo. You'll notice in this second list that the spelling is not the same. This is fine and it doesn't matter at all. When working on phonological awareness skills, we care about the sounds we hear, not the letters we see. Don't let the spelling of the words confuse you. In the song Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the rhymes are star and are, and high and sky. Did you know that lots of children's songs and nursery rhymes include rhymes? Having children hear and sing these types of songs is a fun way for them to learn rhymes. I definitely recommend singing these songs with nursery school classes and kindergarten classes. Here's an example of an activity to help students learn rhymes. It can work well with kindergarten, grade 1, or grade 2 classes. First, select pairs of rhyming cards. 5 and hive are an example of a pair. Have enough cards so that each student gets one card. Distribute the cards randomly, one to each student. Students wander around the room, say their word, and try to find who their rhyming match is, who has the card that rhymes with theirs. If you would like the rhyming word cards, you can find our contact information on the last slide. We're happy to share our materials with you. Moving on to the next step is syllables. So, what is a syllable? Syllables are the pieces or beats of a word. It always includes a vowel sound, with or without surrounding consonants. Balloon is 2 syllables, exercise is 3 syllables, helicopter is 4 syllables. Words can be broken up or segmented into syllables. I think of this as an orange being broken up into segments. Spider can be segmented into spy and der. Butterfly can be segmented into but, fly. Caterpillar can be segmented into cat, pill, This is an activity for breaking up words into syllables, lily pad hop. Create a list of words, with most of them being 2 to 4 syllables long. You can also use the students' own names. You then place 4 hoops or foam pads or spot markers in a row. You can be pretty creative with what you use. Even taping the floor works. Have all the students line up at the end of the row. The first student in line is given a word, and then they hop out each syllable while saying the word. So if someone asked me to hop out my own name, Karen, I would do one hop for care and the next hop for N. Every student in the line gets a turn. This activity can also be done with clapping your hands rather than hopping. One clap per syllable. The opposite of segmenting is blending, so I imagine a blender. Blending syllables into words means putting syllables together to make a full word. Spider blends to become spider. Butterfly is butterfly. Caterpillar blends to become caterpillar. An example of a blending activity is guess what? First you select picture cards, and again we want to select words that are 2 to 4 syllables long. You choose one of the secret pictures, not letting anyone see it. You then say the word slowly, pausing for 1 second in between each syllable. So if the word is syllable, you would say syllable. However, typically you'd have a word that is easier to show in a picture. Then the students guess what the secret picture is by blending the syllables in the sequence. You can choose if you want your whole class to try and guess at the same time, or if you want each student to have their own turn. Whatever works best with your class. Now we're moving up to the third step, which is identifying sounds. And this is specifically identifying the position of a sound in a word. Identifying the sound at the start of the word, or the initial position, is quite common, and it's also the easiest. Cat has the sound k in the initial position. More difficult is identifying the sound at the end of the word, or the final position. Cat has the sound t in the final position. Most difficult is identifying the sound in the middle of the word, or the medial position. Cat has the sound ah in the middle. Notice I'm focusing on the sounds k, ah, t, rather than the letters c, a, t. This is a fun activity that can help students with identifying sounds in words. It's called Line Up If. It can fit really well into your typical classroom routine. So we start off by having all the students together or sitting in a group. Then you say, line up if your name starts with the whichever sound. The student whose name starts with that sound lines up. Then you repeat this until all the students have lined up. Remember, we are making the sound, not the letter. So I would say, line up if your name starts with the k sound, not the k sound. This can be used for really any transition where you don't want all the students rushing and doing something all at once and having chaos. You could do this with going to wash their hands, maybe getting food from a cart, or picking up a material from your desk. The game I Spy can also be used for sound identification. Just we're playing this game with sounds rather than colors. The teacher says, I spy with my little eye something that starts with the whichever sound. So you could choose any sound like s, sh, p, n, Then the students find different items or pictures that start with this sound. See how many they can think of. You could use items you see in your class or items they can find in a picture book. Just remember, we're talking about the sound, not the letter name. Here's an example of I Spy using a storybook. I spy words that start with the sound B. There's bird, bunny, bear. Just pretend that's the letter B written on the page. We can also work on the final or middle position of the word with this activity. What if I said, I spy a word that ends with k? Then they would have to find the duck. Now on to the last step, is working with sounds. Remember that one sound does not always correspond to one letter. Sometimes it's easiest if you pretend you don't know how a word is spelled. For example, the sound k has 3 different spellings, as seen in karate, car, and chick. Fox is spelled with 3 letters, but it actually has 4 sounds. Ah, k, s. Though is spelled with 6 letters, but it only has 2 sounds. Z, o. Words can be broken up or segmented into sounds. Again, this is like breaking up oranges into segments. The word moon can be broken up into oo, n. The word run can be broken up into n. When starting with this skill, we typically choose very short words that are only 2, 3, or 4 sounds long. This activity is almost identical to lily pad hop for syllables, but rather than breaking up long words into syllables, this is breaking up short words into their separate sounds. Some examples of words that students can hop include me, no, shoe, talk, mess, kitty, math, drop, stick. For these activities, you can do a quick Google search and find lots of these word lists online. You could type in 2 sound word, 3 sound words, and 4 sound words. Remember, we care about how many sounds we're hearing when we say the word, not the number of letters we see in the written word. Similar to working with syllables, we can also blend sounds together to make words. N, oo, n, blend to make moon. The sounds n, blend to make run. An example of an activity for blending sounds is guess what? You've seen this activity before. Now we're just using sounds instead of words. If the secret picture is sun, you would say n, while hiding that picture of the sun. Remember to use short words that are 2, 3, or 4 sounds long. We've progressed through all 4 steps, and I've provided 1 or 2 examples per step. Most of the activities that I recommended are a bit more structured and will take some scheduled class time. But I want to remind you that you can sneak in phonological awareness activities anytime throughout the day. The way to do this is to remember to bring your students' attention to sounds. Notice sounds, talk about sounds. Really try to increase your students' awareness of sounds. These are some things you can do. Point out when you notice rhyming words. Repeat them multiple times. If you say, or if a student says, "Put your shoe on too," you could say, "Hey, shoe and two sound the same. They rhyme. Shoe, two, shoe, two." If you see a long word with many syllables, clap it into syllables. For example, you could clap out each month of the year when learning about the calendar months. Jan, U, air, E is how January could be clapped out. You can recognize when two words start with the same sound. If you see Peppa Pig, you could point out how Peppa and pig both start with the sound P. Same with Paw Patrol. Alliteration is when two words start with the same sound. Find opportunities to do this with sayings like Fun Friday or Are we ready to read? Really emphasize that common sound. So Peppa Pig is an example of alliteration. You can recognize when two words sound similar or have similar pieces. An example would be noticing that basketball, baseball, and football all have the word ball in them. When helping a student to write a word they're struggling with, don't just say each letter name. Take some time to break the word down into its separate sounds, then match the sound with the letter. Similarly, when helping a student to read a word they're struggling with, don't just say the full word out loud. Take some extra time to help the student sound out the letters and then blend the letter sounds together to make the full word. Okay, we're almost done. And I'm going to talk about making it visual quickly. You can help students learn by adding visuals and pictures to match what you're saying. Most people learn better when they have something to look at. Very often, I place either little bingo chips or sticky notes or any small item in a row in front of the child. Then I point to each piece to help it represent whichever syllable or sound I'm talking about. You can make it more fun by pretending that a mini animal is jumping. Similar to clapping out syllables, we could switch it up by having a small animal hop for each new syllable. Using green light, yellow light, and red light is helpful to represent the start, middle, and end of a word when identifying sounds in the word. Miigwech, Kinaskamitin, Kinanakamin, Padaimaya, Masi. If you have comments or questions, please email the speech language team at speechandliteracy@mfnerc.com. You can also email us if you would like to request any materials for activities. Thank you.